President Buhari salutes Muslims in Nigeria at Eid al-Fitr, promises improved security in the country.
Vice President Oshibajo at Labour Day rally pledges federal government's commitment to better living standards.
IGP orders watertight security during Eid al-Fitr.
Good morning, Nigeria. Today we shall discuss the significance and lessons of Eid al-Fitr.
Right, the sighting of the new moon usually signifies the first day of Shawwal, that's in the Muslim calendar. It is also the day in which Muslim Ummah celebrate Eid al-Fitr, marking the end of the Ramadan fast.
That's right, Claire. Now, Ramadan is one of the 5 pillars of Islam. And the month-long fast is a season of devotion, reflection, prayers, and almsgiving, as well as a time of self-denial from the pleasures and luxuries of life, so that one can reap the blessings of Ramadan.
And having gone through that process of self-denial and deep reflection, Eid al-Fitr is a time for the Muslim community to celebrate the blessings of the month of Ramadan and also offer thanks to Almighty Allah for giving them the strength and the will to observe the fast, as well as to obey His commandments during the holy month.
And one of the commandments put into practice during the holy month and also while observing the Eid al-Fitr celebration is almsgiving, otherwise known as Zakat al-Fitr, which is an important act of worship and an obligatory form of almsgiving required of every able Muslim at the end of Ramadan. Now, the purpose of Zakat al-Fitr is to help the poor celebrate Eid Fitr as well.
Indeed, Kingsley, absolutely. It is also having abstained from eating and drinking, from dawn to dusk for 30 days. Muslims are expected to appreciate not just people within their neighborhood, but especially the plight of the less privileged in our society. And they can do that according to the Islamic injunctions by showing compassion and attending to their needs through almsgiving. And Kingsley, not just giving of alms, it must be done on time as well.
Well, that on time is something that we will get into in the course of the conversation. But as you have indicated, this is a tradition during the Eid al-Fitr for Muslims to also wear new clothes as a sign of celebration and purity and perform the Eid prayers at the Eid ground. Now, Muslims equally engage in visitation and exchange of gifts to promote unity and good neighborliness.
And of course, Nigerians are also known to exhibit the spirit of love and brotherhood. And festivals like Eid al-Fitr serve to remind us of imbibing these very important virtues that bind all of us together. And of course, not the vices that tend to, divide those, of course, who indulge in them.
Well, at a time when the nation is faced with enormous challenges, of course, including security, what respite does the Eid al-Fitr festival give at this kind of time? And what are the key lessons of the celebration? We shall have our guests speak to these issues in the course of today's program. I'm Kingsley Osadolo saying Barkadi Salah and welcome to Good Morning Nigeria This Monday morning, which of course in Nigeria is a public holiday.
Indeed, it is a public holiday, and I also join Kingsley to say to you, Eid Eid. I am Claire Delabu Abdul Razak, and welcome to Good Morning Nigeria this Monday, broadcast live on the network service of the NTA from our headquarters studios here in Abuja. We will also bring you our complimentary segments in the course of the program, and that will include your usual newspaper reviewer. Bayo hopefully will be joining us. I hope so. And business will come up in the course of the program. But for now, Dennis Adegoloye is also here with us. Dennis will bring you the news highlights in just a moment. Good morning, Dennis.
Good morning, Claire, and good morning, Kingsley. Good morning, Nigerians, and Barka de Salah to our Muslim brothers and sisters. Here is the news. As Muslims mark Eid al-Fitr, President Muhammad Buhari sends his best wishes to the Muslim Ummah in Nigeria and across the world as he appraises the security situation in the country. In a statement, the president says the battle against terrorists who falsely hide under the name of Islam is approaching its conclusion as the final victory is within sight, noting that thousands of fighters have surrendered for rehabilitation and normalcy is returning to the northeast. The president also noted the challenges of banditry and kidnapping are being tackled differently in the northwestern and north central states, where the latest military acquisitions and the armed forces are being fanned out across the region to thwart acts of terror. Vice President Professor Yemi Osinbajo has commended the efforts of Labour leaders over the years for their contributions to nation building and says that the federal government will continue to better the lives of Nigerians through its policies and programmes. The Vice President stated this during the Workers' Day celebration at the Eagle Square, Abuja.
As a progressive, I believe that the good governance and government need of offering free education for the elected. The ministry including and inclusion for the alienated, social mobility for the poor, justice for the wrong, and social security for the vulnerable.
And as Nigerian workers celebrated the 2022 Workers' Day, state governments have assured Nigerian workers of sustainable policies for their welfare. In Lagos, as workers in the state celebrated their day, they called for good governance.
We are fully acknowledge the constitutional provision our workers have entitled to certain rights, including the right to reasonable working conditions and a fair remuneration.
In Ogun State, the governor commended workers for their unique roles in driving the economy of the state.
We will continue to constructively engage our workers so that there can be mutual understanding between the two sides.
The organized labor movement in Borno marked the day with a rally and celebration of a collective commitment to return the state to the path of progress. In Benin, it was reported that the state government is to carry out an upward review of the minimum wage of workers to reflect current economic realities.
The government of Edo State has now decided to review the minimum wage for Edo State workers to 30,000.
The governor is used to doing things like this. Is very worker friendly.
And messages of appreciation of the efforts of Nigerian workers in the development of the country have been coming in as Nigerian workers commemorated Workers' Day across the country. While joining others to celebrate the day, head of the Civil Service of the Federation, Dr. Folashade Yemieson, noted that no nation can successfully attain greatness and prosperity without the invaluable contributions of its workers in all sectors. In the same vein, President of the Senate, Ahmed Lawan, acknowledged the patriotic cooperation of workers with the government and other institutions in the collective efforts to address societal challenges. He appealed for a speedy and amicable resolution to the ongoing negotiations between the federal government and the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, to ensure that Nigerian universities reopen for learning and research. Similarly, Speaker House of Representatives Femi Gbajabiamila joined millions of Nigerians to salute the country's workers on the occasion of International Workers' Day. He commended the resilience, commitment, and dedication of Nigerian workers, noting that their efforts will never be in vain. Inspector General of Police Usman Al-Khalibaba has ordered the deployment of intelligence operatives, traffic officers, and other operational assets of the force for adequate security during and after the Eid al-Fitr celebration nationwide. A statement by the force Public Relations Officer Olu Muyiwa Adejobi indicates that the IGP equally ordered priority attention to be given to places of worship, highways, recreational centres, and financial institutions during the festive period. The IGP also tasks all state commissioners of police and their supervisory assistant inspectors general of police to ensure that crime and criminality are put in check for a hitch-free celebration. Kaduna State Police Command has deployed drones along the Abuja-Kaduna highway to monitor security situations as part of the strategies to secure the road against criminal elements. In addition, the command received police reinforcement from the force headquarters, Abuja. This is part of security arrangements put in place to build confidence among motorists plying the highway.
So any strange occurrence within a radius of more than 10 kilometers, we can view it and we can attend to the situation promptly and swiftly. And we respond swiftly to any situation on this highway to make it safe. That's our promise. And it's not only the highway, we have our inner city patrols ongoing presently.
That concludes the morning news. Good morning, Nigeria will continue shortly after this break with Kingsley and Claire. Have a great day.
You're watching Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. We'll now join our correspondent, Comfort Amodu, for business news.
Entrepreneurs and key players in the trade sector are continuously evolving ways to scale up production and supply of Nigerian goods and products to the global market. As non-oil export gains more traction, to strengthen the non-oil export drive, stakeholders advocate value addition in key sectors of the economy, synergy between trade agencies, the private sectors, institutions and the NEPC for seamless trade facilitation and employment opportunities.
If we continue with this momentum and even increase, the drive to ensure that people begin to have what is called market intelligence, and more importantly, not only just finding players, you will begin to see that there is a growth for people who are still small to become medium, people who are medium to become large. We are hoping to see some some businesses that are fully owned Nigerian businesses that are doing 30,000 metric tons of one product, two products, and then we'll be able to even set up offices in other African countries where we aggregate products, because this is what they are doing.
With the rising global demand for made in Nigerian goods and services, stakeholders advocate enhanced visibility of Nigerian products in global markets.
As we know, Nigeria has rich potential in its non-oil export opportunities, including shea, butter, sesame seeds, dried fruits, and palm oil. There is no reason why more of these Nigerian products should not be lining the shelves of stores throughout the United States, as well as other countries.
As government seeks practical solutions to sustaining the growth of non-oil export, it is projected that the export sector will soon become the key driver of Nigeria's economy.
All right, many thanks, Canford, for the business package. Next will be the newspaper review in a moment.
Our newspaper reviewer, Baya Toyebe, is right here with us in the studios, and he is in the mood of Eid al-Fitr. So I say, Baya, Baraka de Salah.
Thank you, Kingsley. Baraka de Salah to you. Good morning, Claire.
Yes, you're supposed to be in your best outfit.
Thank you very much.
And that's
good morning, Nigeria.
Yes.
Eid Mubarak.
Eid Mubarak to you, sir.
Thank you.
Yes. All right. So, Kingsley, I think...
we have three papers. Let's begin with the Punch. The front page, as always, is busy with headlines and photographs. About the nameplate, Blackout hits CBN, Army headquarters, and others. Disco blames vandals. Oshibajo gets high presidential survey rating. Tinubu's group disagrees. Lawan and other northerners to join APC presidential race. Eid al-Fitr. Buhari says end of terrorism near. Governors preach peace. And 2 earpieces. NHRC, that's the Human Rights Commission, tasks government on ASU. Nance threatens party's primaries. Soyinka on sympathy visit to Igboho in Benin Republic. This story has a double-decker headline and supported, of course, by a number of riders. Subsidy deductions hit states hard. Governors owe salaries and workers lament. No FAC remittance from NNPC in Q1. Subsidy gobs over 675 billion naira. That's according to reports by the paper. Ganduje, that's of Kano, owes retirees 25 billion naira gratuities and others. NLC says Wike owes pensioners. Benue, Ondo, Ekiti, others owe workers' salaries, gratuities, and pensioners groan. You can see the composite photographs there on the front page from the May Day celebrations yesterday. Abuja, of course, shows the Vice President, the Minister of Labor, and the NLC President, and other officials at the May Day rally. Lagos, Bayelsa, and Oyo are also captured there. Labor demands better deal and salary increase from government on May Day. Plateau clears ex-minister and 18 others for governorship election. PCN shuts 308 illegal medicine stores and others in Benue. Chibok girl Lydia bags MSc in the US. Sokoto cleric gets knocks for holding Eid prayer on Sunday. And bandits killed 36 Kaduna workers, says NLC boss. PDP wins Benue local government election, APC boycotts poll. Claire.
Okay, let's take a look at the Nation's front page. The lead story, disquiet in APC over plot to throw open presidential ticket. And it has right there 6 presidential, 63 governorship aspirants pick forms. Again, disquiet in APC over plot to throw open presidential ticket. And just below that, May Day, Labour demands pay rise for workers. And the picture story you see there, members of the National Union of Local Government Employees, NULGE, joined the International Workers' Day in Kaduna. And of course, the picture there, I don't know whether that is a child or what.
Yes. The child joined the parents at the rally.
That's interesting. Now, inside the paper, just here, there are other demands coming from there. Edo raises minimum wage to 40,000 naira. Also increases retirement age to 65 and higher running costs for Lagos primary schools. All the stories are on the inside page, but just a bit above the nameplate. Experts caution CBN on IMF's float naira proposal. Eid al-Fitr, we are close to victory over terrorists, Buhari assures. This is on page 7. And train attack terrorists, free Ango Abdullah's son, 5 killed, 20 abducted in Plateau village attack. And let me quickly also take a look at the front page of the blueprint. And the lead story is on President Buhari's Salah message, which this paper captions as victory over terrorists within sight. Says arrest of billionaire drug baron, over 3,000 others, seizure of 3.4 million kg nation's pride, expresses satisfaction with fight against crude oil theft and bunkering. Concerted military efforts lead to overrunning of IPOB and ESN. Lawan, Batabia, Mila, Badru, Oyetola greet Muslims at Eid al-Fitr. And just a bit below the picture story, you see ASU strike. Nance threatens to disrupt APC and PDP's primaries. That's over ASU strikes. There are other stories trending at the foot of the paper, and we will just take them if time permits. Bayo, let's quickly look at the trending stories.
All right. Let's start with the Eid al-Fitr. Today is Eid al-Fitr, the celebration marking the end of the Ramadan fast. The Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs in Nigeria advised for the lookout of the moon of Shawwal on Saturday. Not having sighted the moon, the Sultan pronounced that Eid al-Fitr should be marked today, Monday. President Muhammad Buhari and other political leaders, ranging from Senate President, Speaker of the House of Representatives, and governors, have all sent messages. President Muhammad Buhari, while congratulating Muslims for successfully concluding Ramadan fast, says that the victory over terrorism is near. He says that with the designation of bandits and terrorists as terrorists, the challenges of banditry and kidnapping are being tackled differently. The president added that the latest armament are being found out by the armed forces to thwart the acts of terror. The Senate President, Ahmed Lawan, enjoyed the imbibing of the lessons of self-restraint, sacrifice, and sharing with neighbors and the needy. He stressed that we should all avoid whatever is forbidden and faith and engaging in what is right. He also asks us to embrace what strengthens the unity and abhor whatever threatens the peace of Nigeria. However, in some worshippers said to have marked the Eid al-Fitr yesterday, one of such was in Sokoto. Daily Trust reports that the cleric in Sokoto and Sheikh Dairu Bauchi confirmed having sighted the moon. They celebrated the Eid yesterday. Symbolism of announcing the sighting of the moon by the Sultan is only in consonance with tradition and symbolism. And even in Saudi Arabia yesterday, they are also celebrating Eid al-Fitr today, not yesterday. Last year, the same situation played out, and the Saudi authority were emphatic that they were not able to sight the moon, and it was not likely it to be sighted anywhere else because they had used astronomical telescope and they couldn't sight the moon. So there's no compulsory in religion. So some persons chose that they haven't sighted the moon. They went for their Eid yesterday. Yesterday too was May Day, and May Day marks the celebration worldwide of workers' solidarity and well-being. For the Nigerian Labour Congress, the rally was grand at the Eagle Square. The Vice President was there. He attended the rally and asserted that Labour is the heir of the movement that involved the literally building modern-day Nigeria. He said that the contributions of Labour, it's impossible to tell the story of liberation from colonial rule without the heroic contribution of Labour. However, he said federal government is pursuing the inclusion and social protection, and that is what led to the establishment of the minimum wage in 2019. He promised that there will be improvement in the living standard of Nigerians. On ASU strike, the Vice President called for the return to the path of dialogue and called on the NLC and TUC to lend their efforts to this course of dialogue. All across the nation, the Labour, NLC and TUC had their members holding rallies in state capital, and the emphasis all through was better deal for workers across the nation. And in Benin, Governor Godwin Obaseki announced an upward review of the minimum wage from 30,000 to 40,000 naira a month. The governor said 30,000 can barely sustain any family. On the story that Claire read about release of one of the captures of the Abuja, Kaduna-Abuja train. Yes. An abductee on the train has been released. His name is given as Sadiq Abdullahi Ango. And there are indications that ransom was paid before he was released. However, over the social media, there is a photograph of a lady who has also been published as said to have been released from the abducted train passengers. She is disheveled and a little bit disoriented. And so there's been call on the social media to help identify her because all she continues to say is train attack, train attack. Apparently, the impact has affected her and she has apparently lost a bit of her orientation. And so members of the public are called to help identify. A 3-story building has collapsed in Lagos, and this happened on the mainland at Ibadan Street. And the Punch report that a building expert, Dr. Akisola Olufemi, says that most buildings that are collapsing in Lagos actually do not comply with the mandatory soil test. This he proved by saying that a research carried out by the Yaba College of Technology indicated, with the exception of a few high-rise buildings, hardly do any of the buildings in Lagos conduct the mandatory soil test. And this is what he says is responsible for the collapsing
And
of
who should be
buildings.
held responsible for that?
Well,
for that
the
lapse?
authorities, approving authorities. And sometimes when the buildings collapse, you hear them coming and talking as if these buildings sprung up like mushroom in a day. The buildings have been going on gradually. Who are those who are supposed to be supervising and monitoring them? All of a sudden you say this is an illegal structure and the story building has been built from foundation to the, and they say you are going to demolish it. Buildings don't spring up like mushroom.
Well, that's a valid point. But there is an agency in Lagos responsible for building control. If you remember the 21-story structure that collapsed on Girard Road in Ikoyi, the officers of the agency had a clash with the property developer when they went there to stop further work on that ill-fated structure. The truth is, you have a lot of developments going on around Lagos, and maybe the agency doesn't have enough manpower to supervise. Perhaps they also work as civil servants. So you do 8 to 4 or 9 to 5. And in the meantime, construction goes on almost round the clock in Lagos, because as you said, some of these structures do not spring up overnight, but some of them actually spring up overnight. You'll find workers round the clock, they use electricity, as light for them. And this structure that collapsed is in the Abuja area. Soil test is very important. If you see the way Yaba and Abuja were in the past, that was bungalows.
Yes.
Bungalows. And now you're having a 3-story structure. And sometimes they will get approval for a single story, and then the next thing you begin to...
Addition.
Yes, you begin to escalate. And you are looking at the strength of materials that they are using. Somebody will be using, can you use 12 mm, I said MMM. MMM is the Ponzi scheme. 12 millimeter iron rod for your pillars, for such story structure. Yes, of course, it's going to crash. Some people use 10. And then the builders who are parading as engineers are quacks.
And not only that, even the building material itself, you go to purchase 12 mm rods and you find out that the quality is poor and the millimeter is not up to 12 mm.
That's right. I think that, Claire, I think that part of what may also be required is from time to time for the Standard Organization of Nigeria to act incognito and raid these steel dealers, iron rod dealers. Tell them you want to buy 12 mm. And then, of course, you go there, there's a calibrator, yes, that they have to see whether it's actually 12 mm. Some you go for 16 mm. They will give you 14 mm.
Anyway, gentlemen, I don't want us to round off this review without me talking about this story. It's on the inside page. I just hope we can, it's on First Tag. And I remember with nostalgia, First Tag 77. I was quite young. I was a teenager. But Bayo and Kingsley, I still have the rhythm of the First Tag, sick tune in my head. I remember it with so much emotion. And I only wish this First Tag 2022 that is coming up in Zanzibar, that's in Tanzania, was to be held here. But fortunately, Nigeria will be showcasing our heritage. So that story is on the inside page, and I just thought I just have to tell it. So First Tag 2022 is coming up, and you remember the rhythm?
Yes.
First Tag
I can't forget because during Festac, I was then a
77.
student in University of Lagos, and I had the opportunity of working as an exhibition assistant during Festac. So I served during Festac. It is a very glorious memory.
It is
A
indeed.
conclave of the black race in the world to Nigeria.
We have never seen any such conclave.
Yes.
Since Festac, and that's 45 years ago. And today we are discussing the lessons of Ramadan. There are also, if you look back at Festac, lessons for us to have learned. I know Claire is talking about the nostalgia of Festac. See what Festac was supposed to mean for us. There is a suburb in Lagos known as Festac.
Festac Village, yes.
And those structures were built to accommodate participants of Festac. And then the National Theatre was the main venue for Festac activities. And for many years, it was an iconic photograph that you had on postcards and so on and so forth. It has taken only recently for there to be measures and moves to rehabilitate, reconstruct, and redesign the utility of the theatre complex with the other additions.
In fact,
so it fell into disrepair.
Yes, a component of the Festac was the Durbar that was held at Kaduna. It was also very grand. The grand Durbar that went out there at Kaduna. Malali was, just like Festac, was also part of the quotas for the participants at the...
I don't know.
There are so many glorious memories.
We were in Festac, Festac town, as it was then called. Look at the expressway. The expressway, that's to say the Badagry Expressway.
Yeah.
Festac at some point was a prime property location for at least the middle class in Lagos. But today, everybody, those who have the means have run away from Festac.
Brian Kingsley, I'm sorry to have raised this again.
No,
but it's like people could go on and on and on and talk about.
I mean, King Sonny Ade, the musician, had the tune for that. I mean, he waxed a record on Festac. You know, I think if you were to go online or YouTube, you will hear the tune. You know.
All right, Director. Let's take a break now. Thank you, Bayo.
Thank you too.
You're still watching Good Morning Nigeria, and we are on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. Before we begin our conversation on Eid al-Fitr and the lessons of Ramadan, let's listen to this background report put together by Oyemi Ajayi.
Eid al-Fitr, also known as the Festival of Fast Breaking, is an important religious rite to Muslims globally. It is a holiday celebrated by Muslims worldwide to mark the end of the holy month of Ramadan, which is one of the pillars of Islam. Significantly, Eid al-Fitr is purely spiritual, as the festival affords Muslims an occasion to offer thanks to Almighty Allah for giving them the strength and the will to observe the fast and obey His commandments during the holy month of Ramadan. It is usually celebrated on the first day of Shawwal, which is the 10th month of the Islamic calendar. On this day, Muslims show their real joy for the health, strength, and the opportunities of life that Allah has given to them to fulfill their obligation of fasting. It is also a time to come together as a community, as well as to renew friendship and family ties. During this time, Muslims are also obliged to give to the needy, likewise share and exchange gifts with one another, promoting unity and spreading joy and love to all the people that come in contact with them. Other key elements of the Eid celebrations are giving money to the poor, known as Zakat al-Fitr, and the amount to be given depends on the possessions someone has. How much can the lessons of the season encourage peace and unity in the country? And how can the values and virtues of Eid al-Fitr be felt by all? These are some of the issues guests will be discussing in a moment.
All right, let me at this point say Eid Mubarak to all Muslim brothers and sisters. And once again, to welcome you to Good Morning Nigeria. We will have our guests all seated, and I'll quickly begin my introductions with Imam Faoud Adeyemi. He's a popular face here on Good Morning Nigeria. He's also the National Chief Imam of Al Habibiyya Islamic Society. Imam, we welcome you to Good Morning Nigeria. Baraka de Salah.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. And Eid Mubarak.
And also with us here in the studio is Jibril Ibrahim. He is a public affairs officer of the Abuja Muslim Forum. I'd like to thank you for joining us for this program.
Thank you very much for having me. Eid Mubarak.
Okay, also part of this conversation this morning is Mardiya Ujibara. She's a member of the Sisters of Jannah. Mardiya, pleasure to have you with us this morning.
Good morning and Baraka de Salah.
And joining this conversation from our Abuja Network Center is Ustaz Abubakar Siddiq Muhammad, an Islamic scholar. Ustaz Abubakar, it's our pleasure to have you with us this morning. And Baraka de Salah.
Thank you very much, yes, but I'm not in Abuja. I'm in Kaduna.
I did say joining us from our Kaduna Network Center. Did I say Abuja? Oh, all right.
That was a slip.
Well, we are here at the Abuja headquarters studios. Abuja is not a network center; it's the headquarters from where all other centers do feed in. I apologize for that. Ustaz Abubakar, once again, we welcome you from our Kaduna Network Center. And let's begin the conversation straight away with you. Today is Eid al-Fitr. It marks, of course, the celebration of the end of the month-long Ramadan. But what else is there about Eid al-Fitr?
Eid al-Fitr, as you have rightly said during that report, signifies giving, signifies compassion, signifies unity, signifies reunion, signifies returning to Allah and remembering all the lessons that we have got during the 1 month course that we took in the Ramadan institution. Yes, that is what Eid al-Fitr signifies. It remembers the poor, because in Ramadan we were told to take care of them and to make them break the fast, and they are not to be forgotten after Ramadan. So we give the Eid al-Fitr zakah that in a few hours' time it will be over. Unless you do it now, then you will not have the full reward of that zakah that we give at the end of the fasting session. It signifies, as I said, unity, because you are reminded in Ramadan that you are not the first community that has fasted. Other communities before you, the Jews and the Christians also, were observing fast even before the Muslims started their own form of devotion to God by abstaining from eating and drinking and any other pleasure from early morning until sunset. So one remembers that yes, there are other communities, and Islam encourages us that we should live peacefully with them, seek to understand what type of worship is not mistake. It's not a mistake that Allah informs us in the Quran that they fasted before you. So it's not a new form of worship. You are not the only people that have done that to come closer to God. Other communities have done so. So it is for us to look at that community because God has mentioned them, and to find ways of collaboration as a nation to bring about understanding and harmony between us and followers of other religions that is not our own. Yes.
Thank you, Ustaz Abubakar Saeed Mohammed, for your opening remarks. And let me bring in Imam Adeyemi, into our conversation. Imam, once again, Eid Mubarak to you. In relation with the Eid al-Fitr festival, and getting to know what it's really all about. Can you give us a sense of understanding of what the Messenger of Allah, that's Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, what he thought about the festival when he had his conversation with the Ansar, that's the Muslim people of Medina?
Well, Alhamdulillah, the Prophet ﷺ has exposes to us that to every group they have their Eid, and he said, "This is our own Eid," and Eid here means returning joy, reoccurring joy that comes to not just the community but also to the individual. And Eid al-Fitr this time around, it also marks the end of Ramadan, as Ustaz Abakar Siddiq has said. But it means certain things. I will say that it is a kind of a test of what we have done in the past 30 days. The test is like when somebody has gone to read law, and in that law, after finishing 4 years of training or 5 years, they now ask him to go to law school. What he has done in the 4 years is what they are fusing together to see how he's going to practice what he has learned. The same thing with Ramadan. Ramadan is an institution on its own that trains, that better everything in our system, especially our soul. Now that Eid al-Fitr has come, Almighty Allah wants to test those things you have learned during the month of Ramadan. You have learned compassion, you have learned a lot of ibadah, you have learned how to help others, you have learned how to work together, you have learned how to be obedient, and you have learned how to tolerate each other, you have learned how to be disciplined. And within 2-3 hours, Allah wants to test all those things which you have learned during Eid al-Fitr. One, it will say you have to give certain things, certain food to certain group of people within a specific time. That alone teaches or trains about 3 sets of things that we have learned during the month of Ramadan. One, it learns whether you continue with the compassion. 2, it teaches you whether you will learn how to be time conscious or whether you also be obedient. That is what's giving, you have to give some food items to other Muslims who are less privileged for that day. Then also, you are going to observe 2 rakah prayer, and it is very unique. The 2 rakah prayer of Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Kabir is very unique in the sense that the Jummah prayer, the khutbah, comes before the 2 rakah prayer. That is the sermon. But the Eid prayer, the sermon, comes after the 2 rakah prayer. What does this signify? Allah wants to test your obedience. That many people, the moment Imam do salamu alaikum with the 2 rakah, you see them standing up. They will go. They will not ready to listen to the sermon. Allah wants to test that what we have learned during this month of Ramadan, how are we going to cope? Allah wants you to practicalize it so that the second that Ramadan goes, you continue to be able to practice those things which you have learned. And what is the sole aim? I always say it is a continuous consciousness of this beingness of the Supreme Being, that wherever you find yourself, at any condition you find yourself, you see Almighty Allah in your front, in your relationship, in yourself, in your work, in thinking with other people. All these things, you have to be conscious of the beingness of the Supreme Being with you all the time.
All right. Thank you very much there for your opening comments, Imam Fuad. We'll return to you later on in the course of the conversation. Jibril Ibrahim, tell us your own perspective on Eid al-Fitr and the just concluded Ramadan.
Thank you very much. I think the Eid al-Fitr is an opening, is like a conclusion of a course, like has been said. But post Eid al-Fitr, it's a function of now what's, like it is said that one of the signs that the whole course, that you are successful in that course, is your ability to carry it forward. Because it's like a turnaround maintenance. The day they are opening the facility, like the refineries, if they do a turnaround maintenance, the day they are opening, there's a celebration. But will the pipes, all the constraints that you learned, because the Ramadan month is la'allakum tattaqun. The purpose that Allah specified is so that you learn self-restraint. So have you learned that self-restraint? Like has been mentioned, that day you have to give more. Are you going to give more? That day you have to be compassionate. Are you going to be compassionate? And the day after, now you have celebrated. There's this sense of like the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, that there are a number of days during Ramadan, there are a number of periods where a Muslim is happy. One is in the evening when he's breaking his fast, and the other is at the end of the month. But after that happiness, are you able to carry forward what you have learned in the month? So that's fitri, that opening, that celebration is a sign that, okay, we've left you now. Are you able to move forward with all the spiritual renovations, the spiritual upliftment that you'll have achieved over the 30 days course?
All right, let me bring in now my sister of Jana, Mardia. Sister Mardia, it's said to you. So let's also hear your perspective on, this festival of joy. What is the content of this joy, from the Islamic perspectives, bearing in mind that, again, as Ibrahim said, we've just passed 30 days of abstinence from food and other, material pleasures.
All right, thank you. Just like Imam has said, and my brother here also mentioned, Eid al-Fitr is a time to come together. It's a time for unity. It's a time for sharing joy and sharing kindness. For instance, it's because of the kind of society we find ourselves now, it's almost difficult to have all the family members together. And you see, a day like this bring everyone together. You see, from the nuclear to the extended family, everyone being together, the father, the mother, the children are happy. They're going to see their distant relatives. They're going to meet their friends. And you see, on the Eid ground, you get to meet people you have met in a very long time. And then this brings about a kind of reunion. So one of the things that Ramadan teaches us is for us to be able to come together, to reunite. Because even in the month of Ramadan, you see, we have opportunities of breaking our fast together. People invite each other to their homes to eat. So, and this is rare ordinarily. So these are some of the, this is one of the lessons we bring from Ramadan, and then it extends into Eid al-Fitr, and it is expected that we take it even after Eid al-Fitr, because just like it has been rightly mentioned, the teachings of Ramadan and Eid al-Fitr is not just meant for the 30 days that we have fasted. It's a course that whoever has fasted, it is expected that you carry on all of the experiences that you have achieved from there. You carry it on into your daily lives before the next 330 days, before we get to come to another Ramadan. So aside from the compassion, the kindness, the spiritual upliftment that we achieve during Ramadan and on the day of Eid, it's also another day, it's another time to reunite with our loved ones and our families.
All right. Thank you very much, Mardia, for your comments. Let's bring in again Ustaz Abubakar. Ustaz, I am fascinated by the expression used by Jibril Ibrahim in describing the Ramadan period. And of course, I would imagine that also would apply to the Lenten season. He says that it's like a turnaround maintenance term, turnaround maintenance you have on a refinery, which then leads me to the question that you have the faithful worldwide. And if we were to use the turnaround maintenance, we do know that in some other places where they also have refineries and carry out turnaround maintenance, the refineries keep working. And elsewhere, where they also carry out turnaround maintenance, after a short period, the refinery collapses. Is this turnaround environmentally conditioned? And if so, how do you get out of that environmental conditioning and make yourself a better human being in the presence of the Almighty?
Yes, that is very important. And I think one of the guests there, Sister Mardia, has mentioned this coming together of the Muslim community at various stages of its yearly activities and even daily activities. We meet daily 5 times a day with very close neighbors, and we meet with more distant neighbors weekly. That is during the Friday congregational prayers, where more communities converge in a place and offer their prayers. During Eid, like today, we meet with more distant communities also to get together, to stay and to pray. And internationally, we meet during the Hajj, where you have people from various countries coming together. It's not only to worship, but to interrogate one another, to ask what is working in your part of the world and what is not working. What is your experience in social places, so that we can learn from what you have experienced in your own part of the world. So from there, Muslims compare notes daily, weekly, and annually. We call it the Muslim General Assembly, that is the Hajj. From there, we'll be able to learn, and this turnaround maintenance may be checked and solutions preferred. Of course, however much a community is organized, however much a community is trying to make amends and to come closer to its maker, there are exceptions and there are problems here and there that it is for Allah's emissaries that he sent to convey the message clearly to the people. And our tasks as Muslim scholars is to follow the footsteps of those Allah's emissaries that he has sent to various communities at various times in the past, to emulate them and to continue from where they stop, to try to speak to people, to try to bring about change in them, to try to make them recognize their maker and to obey his laws. Ours is just to convey that message clearly and plainly to people. Whoever wishes, he accepts, and whoever does not may reject that message. We are not wardens, we are not policemen, we are not the authority. Ours is just to speak to the people. Where there is willingness to change, people will change. Otherwise, ours is just to convey the message to them clearly, and God will guide whom he wills. So yes, there will be problems in every community, people who will not obey. The general overhaul or maintenance of that refinery may be effective somewhere and may not be in another. But the purpose of coming together is to speak to one another and to learn from each other's experiences with a view to making amends and correcting where we may have missed the mark. Yeah.
If we look around us today, and I'm throwing this question generally, if we look around us today, we'll discover that the country is going through difficult times. Almost every body is having one form of challenge or the other, which has not been resolved, and that gives one the impression that it could seem as if the lessons that we get from yearly observance of these rituals, fasting and all that, have not really been implemented, or we have not really exhibited those lessons, but probably internalized the lessons just to individual self. What is the sunnah? What is the saying of the Prophet about us showing the lessons that we have learned and making it a generalized thing so that our society can move forward? Let me start with again Imam Adeyemi.
Well, Alhamdulillah. You see, what you have just said, let me put it in a perspective for you. Probably you now understand. A car is on ground. It's a very good car. Nobody is using it. They now service it. After servicing, those who are around, they do not know how to drive it. They keep it where it is. After some time, whether you use it or not, you still need to reservice it at a particular point in time. Who is to blame? Is it the car or the owner of the car? Now, perhaps You might not understand what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, Allah has given us Ramadan as a training opportunity for us, as what you describe as turnaround maintenance. What do you want to turn around precisely? You can clean your body, you can clean your head, you can clean your clothes, but the only thing that you can use to clean your soul is fasting, because it has taught you to know that God is everywhere. Perhaps you might not understand some of the activities we do during the month of Ramadan. Is because the people who are presenting, explaining this thing to us, they have put Ramadan to look as if it is an end on its own. Ramadan is just a means to an end. And until when we understand and appreciate Ramadan to be a means to an end, it is then the real teaching and training of Ramadan will actually be internalized in us. So many people believe that it is when you fast and you break your fast, that is the end of it. No, Quran has given us the expected response that he expects from us after fasting the month of Ramadan. Say, that you have been prescribed to fast the month of Ramadan, as I described for those before you, with the sole intention so that after this fasting, you will be able to be conscious of God. So how many of us are now getting conscious, being conscious of God after this fasting of Ramadan? Many people want to do bad things. Don't worry, we are fasting. Just when we break our fast, we see. When we break our fast, we do that. Because they see fasting as just the end on its own. Not knowing you have to take everything you are learning there. It's like when you are a lawyer. I'm sorry, because I'm used to that. You've gone to law school and you need to go to court. And when you go to court, you wear ordinary kaftan to court. The judge is waiting for you, and you are singing. You are singing in the court. They say, "What have you come to do here?" You say, "You are come to defend a litigant." You are a jester in that court. You are not a lawyer. So the same thing with a Muslim who has fasted the month of Ramadan, and when Ramadan goes, he begins to do any other thing. He has abandoned those things that he had learned during the month of Ramadan. It means it's not trainable. And when you are in a bank, they train you for a particular thing, first, second, third. They will say advise to withdraw. You are the one they will ask you to go out of the system by yourself. Any Muslim who fasts in the month of Ramadan and his life does not change by an inch, he's already a failed person.
Sorry, Kingsley. Let me just again buttress, my question. Thank you, Imam, for that explanation. I in the course of research, we understand that there was an incident in which the Prophet himself interceded. I think it was after maybe during the Eid or after the fasting, and we're told that Aisha or so. I was listening to a particular music played by some girls, and Abu Bakr came in and chastised her, saying that, look, you shouldn't be listening to this kind of music. This is an instrument, Satan instrument, and the Prophet was there. But this is a disciple who has just finished fasting, and knows the truth and must have imbibed some lessons. But the Prophet said to him, no, leave that. Leave the girls alone. Let the women listen to the music. So this kind of behavior, we get to see this kind of behavior. You that have come out from fasting period, you know the truth. You are stopping other people. You are not practicing the truth. Ibrahim.
Thank you very much. I get the concern. Yes. In fact, I've always been worried about that also. And my thoughts on that, is put, that environmental balance in the environment. How do we come out? For so many years, so many religious communities have been coming out of fast, and we have not seen like a corresponding improvement in the society, in their behavior. And my thoughts on that is that this society is actually complex. There are multiple factors at play. And even Allah tells us a lot of places in the Quran that we have put you in the world and we have shown you the two paths. There are a lot of evil there are a lot of challenges that Allah puts in the world as a test. And He has also shown you how to deal with it. So the way Islam sees the world is that we have thrown you into a playground. These are the obstacles, like if you play computer games, these are the obstacles that will be on your road. These are the tools you will have to surmount the obstacles. Like a particular instance, the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam somebody was going by. I can't remember the exact, quotation of the incidents, but they did some things, and the Rasul was like, why are you planting your seeds like this? And they were like, they left the way they were planting, doing the agriculture. Then later, the yields of that planting season did not go well. And they were wondering. And then they now said, but you are the ones. He said, no, I've come to teach you your spiritual side. But for your worldly coordination, your technological innovations, you are responsible for. I'm not a prophet of technology. I'm a prophet to clean your heart, to clean your character, and then you use that as a guiding principle for your running of the world. So if you come back to the society, there are political factors. There are educational factors. One of the challenges I see that Nigeria, we are not dealing with, at least if I can, from Nigerian perspective, is the rate of our population growth is not matching the rate of our our infrastructure development. So there is no way that we will not have some of these implosions and things, because if you look at across the country now, the Northeast has all the issue of Boko Haram, is because there was a large pool of uneducated and probably uneducatable people that they had to deal with. Northwest also has that pool that the bandits are taking from. Southeast has a pool of people that you can use for that. I think the Southwest is probably the luckiest to not have the critical mass of uneducated pool of people. So you see these social, political factors, religion alone cannot, you have those factors and then fine, the religion is doing its best. I can speak for Islam. Islam is very particular about refining the person. That's why all these activities are there. But when you throw the person into the society, Nigeria is not like is a multi-religious society. It's a multi-political, it's a free society. So I really am concerned about that also, and I think is the management of all the forces at play. We can't hold the religion alone to deal with the behavior of man when he goes to interact with people.
Well, thank you very much, Jibril Ibrahim. Back to Madria, I would like you to also speak to the whole issue of the essence of Ramadan. That namely, Ramadan is not an end in itself, but rather a facilitative means for other grand spiritual purposes. What are these spiritual and ultimately earthly purposes?
All right. My brother has spoken well, and you can see that he has mentioned it in a multidimensional way. So I'll just like to streamline it. Ramadan has come to teach us so many things in different ways and different disciplines. Ramadan has its social impact. It has its physical impact. It has its health impact. It has its financial impact. It has its societal impact. Now the lesson, or what we should think about, is just like Imam said, we should understand that Ramadan is not the end itself. It is just a means to an end. Now, if we understand that, let's take it from the angle of health, for instance. Ramadan has come to teach us that you can actually stay for 20 hours or 15 hours in a day without food and water, and you won't die. But you see, ordinarily, people feel that, no, I can't do it. I just can't survive 5 hours without having something in my mouth. But if we could do this for 30 days, it therefore means that, and you can imagine the kind of health benefit that comes with it. Within that 30 days, you begin to see some changes, some differences in your health. And now let's come to the personal person. Just like my brother said, that Islam has come to perfect the person, the individual, the morals. So if I take the lesson from Ramadan and I say, oh, so if I can actually do 10, 15 hours without food and water, and I'm healthy, I'm fine, I'm good to go, then why can't I take this forward to the next 11 months? My physical self, it means therefore that I'm elder, I'm smarter, I can get up and do things that ordinarily I can't do. Some of us would not would stand for like 4 hours in the middle of the night praying during Ramadan. Some will wake up from as early as 1 a.m. and then end their prayers at around 4, 5. And you see us doing that steadily for 30 days. Now, and you just realize that immediately after the 30 days, everyone goes back. So it therefore means that as individuals, we have not taken the lesson. So what it is that we should be preaching now to our fathers, our scholars, is that we should begin to see Ramadan. We should begin to see all these Islamic, all the pillars of Islam as means to an end, as means to our livelihood. The spiritual benefits are there. The social benefits are there. It's in Ramadan that you remember your next door neighbor. It's in Ramadan you remember that, oh, there are actually children on the streets. Please, once it's time for iftar, please get all of them and let them come and take iftar in my house. And after Ramadan, you see those children back on the streets. So it therefore means that we need to internalize it as individuals before we can now extend it. If we take the practice, if we take the lessons, we internalize it and we begin to act on it on individual basis, our society will definitely be better.
Thank you, Mardia. Imam Fuad, today is Eid, and that's what we're looking at. The fasting period, it's over, and surprisingly, I just got to know recently that at Eid there are certain etiquettes that must be observed. And surprisingly also, my producer sent a video in a clip to me just last night. I was listening to it. I just got to know that you need to walk, to the Eid ground. You need to also eat, and eating is very compulsory. And there's another interesting thing I found, that if you're going to take dates, that it must be an odd number. And then again, the ritual bath. Can you speak more on these etiquettes to us and enlighten us more?
Yeah, let me start from the dates. Naturally, in Islam, when you take date, is mainly in odd numbers, 1, 3, 5, and thereabouts. So it's not just only for breaking of fast. That is the futur itself on each day. Then you see, like you rightly mentioned, you finish. You've also mentioned all these things. But before I quickly explain that, the one my sister was making reference to about where we have not been internalizing it, I think it also goes back to religious leaders for us to be able to understand this thing and to take it back to those who listen to us. That Ramadan is more than just the ritual things we think it is. These are the main lesson of it, that it is expected of you. Especially so many things we are doing in the month of Ramadan, like in most mosques, they are feeding there now, and so many people. And the moment on the Eid, you will not even see anything, and you get there, it's like a graveyard. And the same people that they are enjoying. I think we should begin to internalize this thing and practicalize it little by little after Ramadan. Perhaps it will get there. Now, coming back to your question, which is some etiquette that you need to do. One, you wake up, and after you wake up, you do your ritual bath, which is called ghusl. It's different from ordinary bath. It's just a whole bath. The Muslim knows what is called ritual bath. One of it is when you are going for Eid. You say your salat. After that, you eat. It is compulsory that you eat something before you go for Eid. Unlike the big salah, which is called Eid al-Kabir, that you are fasting. On that day, you must not eat anything when you are going to the mosque. And that is in the area of timing. That if you are to be big salah, the one, the Eid al-Kabir, the timing is a bit earlier. If you note most of the mosque now, the earliest time they pray is 8:30 in Nigeria. 8:30, 8:35, 8:40, 8:45 to 9:30, 10. Because of the rule that you have to eat before you leave your house. And if you are to be big salah, the rule is that you are fasting, you will eat after the Imam has slaughtered his cow, his ram. So the Eid on that one, you see it 7, 7:30, even 6:30. Some places 6:30, 7, 8, 9. It's not late than 9 in most places that they do. So those are the etiquette of them. When you are coming, you'll be doing tasbihat. And when you get to the mosque, you do not observe any rakah. You just enter and you sit down. Then women that are not allowed to come to mosque most of the time when they are in their monthly period, the Prophet ﷺ encouraged them that even when a woman is not clean, she should go to Eid and share in the joy that is available in the mosque. And when you finish, you must listen to the khutbah, and before you now go back. It's also recommended that when you get back home, you observe 2 rakah prayer before you, the moment you get home. But before you also go, don't forget, you have to pay your zakatul fitri, because the moment they start the prayer, your zakatul fitri, you have missed the reward. It only remains ordinary charity, and there's no more zakatul fitri. You have to do it before you go.
Okay, thank you very much, Imam Fuad. Back again to Ustaz Abubakar in our Kaduna Network Center. There are a number of issues that have been raised, and the other guests have spoken to them. You may wish to also respond with your own perspective, namely the issue of how to carry forward the lessons of Ramadan so that Ramadan is not seen as an end in itself, and then the observances during the Eid al-Fitr celebration.
Thank you very much. With regards to the first part of the question, and I think Brother Jibril in the studio, as well as Imam Fuad, and even Sister Mardia, they have all spoken about the change that is expected in a human being after undergoing a training. It doesn't matter what religion one professes. What is important, as the Quran has taught us, is your behavior shows who is better. Whether you are a Muslim or you are a non-Muslim, a non-Muslim passing through the length, or the Muslim passing through Ramadan to imbibe and to learn and to practice patience, perseverance, understanding, tolerance, and so on. The Quran says we are all created from a single pair of a male and a female, and that we are made into tribes and nations that we may recognize one another. The best of us in the sight of God is one who is better in conduct. If after coming out of that institution, you are now fighting another person, then you have forgotten the lesson that you have learned in Ramadan, where you are told not to fight anybody. Whoever comes to create any problem between you and them, you should tell them that you are fasting. Now, after fasting, you are now caught fighting with another person. Then show me your character, and I would know that what religion you profess is better than my own. That is very important. And to the other aspect of the question, Imam Fuad has given all the answers to that. Suffice it to say that I may add one or two things. Cleanliness of body and soul. After passing through the Ramadan and having that spiritual upliftment and taqwa, that is to be conscious of God, you are now told to take a bath in the morning to signify that cleanliness of what is physical. You have come out cleansing what is not seen, what is hidden. Now you are to clean what is apparent, and you are to don your best adornment to the Eid. You put on your best to go to the Eid ground. And eating in the morning shows that now you have been fasting for 1 month. Today there is no fasting, so you must show by your deed. Taking water and taking the dates in odd and not even numbers, as the Imam has rightly said, is also important. At the studio, I think one of the presenters there spoke about moving to the Eid ground, walking, trekking. It is, of course, better to trek than to go riding on anything, on an animal as in the past, or in our cars as in the present. It is better. It is not where one cannot but must drive to the mosque. That's okay. But where the mosque is not too far from where you are staying, it is better to trek. It shows a lot of things also as a human being, humility, and you get to see many people. It is easier for you to converse with them. It is easier for you when you are trekking to give alms to the poor. And we are encouraged also to vary the route to the mosque. You don't go through one route and still return through the same route. No, you are encouraged to pass through another route so that you would see more people and see more new faces and see more people who are in need of your assistance, and you'll be able to offer that. And of course, he has mentioned the issue of Zakat al-Fitr, where we are told to give to the poor, and also listening to the khutbah after the prayer. It denotes discipline. Are you a disciplined Muslim because you are to wait and listen to what the Imam will say after the khutbah, or would you just, as he has said, depart as soon as the prayers are over? So all that put together, I will still cap it with what I've started with. Show me your character, and I will know whether the period of learning that you have spent in an institution of Ramadan or any other form of worship is in you, or you have failed woefully in the training that you have been undergoing for a whole month. If any character is exhibited that is not in tandem with the lessons imparted in Ramadan or in any period of fasting, then you have failed as a candidate of that institution.
Ustaz Abubakar, thank you very much. I would like to, we know that we have to release your good self, Ustaz and Imam, presently, so that you could go attend the Eid celebration. But there's something I would like you to clarify, that both Imam and Ustaz. Alms giving, or the sharing of food during the Ramadan itself, that's to say the iftar, is this specific to adherents of the same faith, or it is to anyone who is poor or less privileged?
Well, that is first and foremost. That I will use with my personal experience in the mosque. You know, in our mosque, we filled multitude. And there was a time I discovered that some people who are not Muslims, they used tie and joined the Muslim to be praying so that they could get food. And when I discovered this, I personally announced that this place is for human beings. You do not need anything to qualify you to get here. The only thing you need is what the lawyer called habeas corpus. You have to bring your body. The moment you are here, forget it. Everybody has the same thing. So if you are not a Muslim, just stay at the back, allow them to finish their prayer. When they finish their prayer, the type of quality and quantity of the food that Imam himself gets is what you will get, talk less of any other person. So it's not going to be because you are not a Muslim, you are deprived. No. It is what exactly they are giving that you give. But the only difference here is in the Eid al-Fitr, Zakat al-Fitr, which is specifically meant for the fasting Muslims, so that they will celebrate Eid. But that does not deprive you when, let's say, in a house, there are Muslims and there are Christians. You have given to probably the Muslims that are in need of your food, and the Christians are there looking. It becomes very, very immoral for you as a Muslim to only give the Muslims and you close your eyes to the other religion who are in need. You can divide the source of your charity in such a situation. If you give Zakat al-Fitr to the Muslims, then you look for any other thing of equivalent value to the non-Muslims who are in that place too. Because even in Zakat, Almighty Allah has guided us that about the third group of people that are entitled to Zakat itself, which is the main a pillar of Islam, are people who are not Muslim, who will be able to help you. And let me give you an example why giving that Zakat to others or food to others is really, really working. I had an experience in our mosque. There is a man that usually comes from a house that has a lot of security by the house. Anytime he is leaving the house, the security people will not allow him to go. They will not open the door. Most of the time, they will not open the door. He now told me, anytime he comes, he told me, he said he's always coming late because of, I said, you are a Muslim. Why should you be talking like this? Whenever you are going, I said, how many of them? He said 3. Take 6 packs of food. Each time you are going, give them. When you are coming, let's see what happens. By the time he does that for the 3rd day, they were the one knocking his door. When are you going to the mosque?
Imam Fuad Adeyemi, we like to. We really do not want to let you go, but you have to go and perform your obligations to the congregation. So we have to let you go at this point. Thank you very much for coming to share your knowledge with us. While we allow him to take his leave, let's bring in. Okay, let's take a short break. When we come back, we'll continue with that conversation. All right, welcome back to the program. It's Eid's edition of Good Morning Nigeria this Monday, a public holiday, and we are looking at the significance of Eid al-Fitr celebration. We have 2 guests here with us, Ibrahim Jubril, who is a public affairs officer at the Abuja Mosque Forum. We also have our sister Maradia, who is a member of the Sisters of Jannah, and Ustaz Abubakar Saeed Mohammed, an Islamic scholar. And to you, I will direct my question. And I'm trying to bring in, a bit of gender issue here. Before Imam Fuad left us, he talked about, and you also said that during fasting, women who are, observing their monthly cycle are not allowed to fast, do some form of prayer. But during Eid, they are allowed to go to the mosque. And I'm like, isn't that gender? I don't know. Maybe my sister would also speak to that issue. There seems to be some form of gender sensitivity here.
Yes, my sister, yes. Islam does not discriminate between the sexes. It is only either our behavior as a Muslim where we do not understand the import of the Sharia, or through people who want to be mischievous about Islam, and they try to set apart the male in certain things from the female. So if Islam exempts women from fasting during their monthly courses, then and she would not she would not also pray the 5 obligatory prayers. She would not pray. So it's only the man that must, at all times and in all conditions, except where he is sick or on a journey. So in that case, the woman is better than the man, because she has periods to be off for both prayer and fasting. Now, during the celebration of Eid, she is encouraged, in whatever condition she is, to come to the mosque, and they are advised to stay close to where the prayers are offered, since they are not going to pray, but they will be there to see the celebrations, to see the prayer. In short, it is recommended that part of the khutbah that the imam will deliver on that day to be on women specifically, to discuss women issues. So if you put that as you are trying, I think either the word is not coming, or you are not sure whether to use it or not. Gender balance. is there in both the expression of rituals, as you have said, and of course during these celebrations of Eid. Women are part and parcel of the celebrations. They are not discriminated against in any way. They are allowed to come to the mosque and to practice their religion. Programs like this, where people are brought to talk about religion, and I'm happy that one of the anchors, I think it's you, that said that a text message or WhatsApp message was received, and somebody told you about these musical instruments during their Eid. That, of course, but with some corrections there. I think the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was seated, and the people that were playing the musical instruments, boys and girls, were there. Abu Bakr came and did not say anything, and they did not do anything. But as soon as Umar came, they dropped all these things and they ran away. And he said, how can you be playing musical instruments in the presence of the Prophet? And the Prophet said, no, Umar, leave them. Every community has its Eid, and this is our Eid. So really, once there is nothing hidden in the world today. So Islam is explained in many ways, and you get information either online or through the WhatsApp something. So where the Muslims are saying something concerning their religion, you will be able to know that yes, this is what that religion teaches. Before the Imam left, he was speaking about this feeding aspect when the question came. Yes, you can, as he has eloquently explained by word and deed in the Al-Habibiyya setting, whereby they give iftar to numberless people in need, including non-Muslims. What is the emphasis in Islam is anything that has a heart is entitled to your concern, is entitled to your assistance. Even animals are not exempted from such things, because we have in the text where people were forgiven, their sins were forgiven because they gave water to a dog, or they showed concern to an animal like a cat, and so on. All those texts are there. So a non-Muslim is welcome where assistance is offered. And of course, the Al-Habibiyya Islamic Society has a program for the zakat disbursement, and part of the recipients, as he has said, because the verse in the Quran speaks about those whose hearts are to be reconciled, are non-Muslims, and they are given, as Muslims are given something out of that zakah, non-Muslims, especially Christians, would be part of the recipients of that economic empowerment program of the Islamic societies, Al-Habibiyya or any other. So that is my point before we all go to the mosque for the Eid prayer. Yes.
Okay, it's on that note we'd like to thank you, Ustaz Abubakar Siddiq Muhammad, an Islamic scholar who joined us today from our Kaduna studios. I recall you've been our guest here on Good Morning Nigeria in our Abuja headquarters studios. Thank you very much, and once again, Baraka de Salah. Once again, Baraka de Salah. Right, now back to the Abuja studios. Jibril Ibrahim and Mardia Ojibara are still with us for the remainder of the conversation. Let me also raise this so that, again, we face prevailing realities. The world is currently experiencing a global, as it were, food crisis in terms of prices of food items that have skyrocketed. This has been aggravated lately by the conflict between Russia and Ukraine. But all around the world, according to the World Food Program and FAO, we have seen increases in food prices, and Nigeria has not been an exception. So Ramadan has just ended. Before it, Lenten season also came to an end. I'm wondering, how does this, for instance, impact the observance of the Ramadan? Is Ramadan in a time of plenty different from Ramadan in a time of relative scarcity or high cost? And if you carry that over into the period after the fasting, how do you deal with that?
It's really interesting, you know. First is Ramadan and the practice of Islam generally. One thing with it is universal applicability. That's one thing, like personally, I love about Islam. It's not only time independent, it's time relevant across time and geographically across the world relevant, because the religion encourages you to educate yourself as much as possible, to empower yourself as much as your society needs. So what the religion does is give you the principle to guide your personal life, but you're translating that, which is part of the challenges I'm sensing, you know, as we translate Ramadan into the real world and post-Ramadan, is our ability to take those lessons, those discipline, those collaborative tendencies and carry it forward and translate it to the present time. I think that's one of the things we are having challenges with. Even personally, I would say even within the Muslim community, translating those things to the present time. We have scholars that have led before in Islam that have explained the religion. But that was a time probably when the global population was at a certain number. We are dealing with an increasing global population, and most of this increase in population leads to various things. If you take the Industrial Revolution, it became necessary after the World War I. That was the only way to quickly grow back and feed the people. When you talk about digital revolution that we're dealing now, the global population is so much that only digitization can solve a lot of the problem. Without digitization, what would we be having with telecommunication if they didn't digitize into GSM? If NIN, so many government services, if education, I'm concerned about education. If you look at the population in Nigeria, you can't just build enough physical schools to deal with the millions of students. You must digitize. So how does religion now help people to understand that your population is X now? The old way of everybody must sit and probably use allo slates. How many allos do you want to produce? How many pens do you want to do? You must just digitize and use some form of tablets, some electronic devices, so that more people can use it. So I think what I want to carry forward and in my interaction with people now is the lessons of Islam. How do we essentially digitize it? How do we bring it to today? Because in the seed of our religion is the ability to be adaptable to various cultures, to be adaptable at different times. And how do we, roll that forward? So one of the things in the month of Ramadan is when there is less. In fact, I love that about it. When you don't have enough. She mentioned the fact that you fear that you can't stay for 12 hours, 15 hours without food. That's one of the things that tells me is when I see a poor person, after going through Ramadan, I'm wondering, when I see a hungry person subsequently, I can imagine how hungry I was during Ramadan. So I can relate with the hunger of the person I'm seeing. So I get a lot more passionate, a lot more moved when I see a hungry person after Ramadan, that how would I do this thing to this person? How can I help this person going forward? So I think our ability to carry all these things and translate it into communication after Ramadan is key. We have all identified that we drop a lot of things. After Ramadan, we drop a lot of those lessons. So the focal point now is how do we make our messages more focused on that look, you don't stop the empowerment programs after Ramadan. You don't stop the feeding programs. You need to, the way you mobilize during Ramadan, you see for tafsir, for this, we must mobilize after Ramadan to solve our social and collective problems. So these are some of the lessons I see from this.
I know Sister Mardia would like to speak on that, but also I'm still going to take you on the issue of gender balance, because the issue of rights and obligations accorded or conferred with women today is blamed on religion and culture. They say we extricate those from religion and culture. That's why you see that. And that's why you see a lot of female agitations and all that. So my question will be, how does Ramadan period or Eid help us to, balance that? How does it help us to understand that there should be a need to, accord equal, rights and obligations to the genders?
All right. I'll start by saying that Islam is a perfect religion, and it has given its guidelines to everyone who understands it. And if you ask me, I'll say that Islam has the best model of gender balance, and it gives the woman a form of a form of priority, a form of self-esteem, and a lot of things. For instance, during Ramadan, women are not allowed to fast. It is not just about fasting. Ordinarily, once they are in their menstrual period, they don't even pray. They don't get to pray, they don't get to fast, and then, of course, maybe some other things. And even when they are breastfeeding. And this is because Islam understands the fact that as a woman, when you're going through this cycle, there are some women who actually go through pain during their menstrual cycle. It's a time of discomfort. Just the same way when you're breastfeeding, it's a time of discomfort. And Allah loves ease, and it gives everyone ease. So it is prescribed that at this time, when you're during your menstrual cycle or during your breastfeeding period, stay off prayers, stay off fasting. But because Ramadan, the fast during Ramadan is for Allah alone, as it is mentioned in the Quran. Allah says that every other act of worship are for you. You get your reward. But for that of fasting, it is for Him alone, because He is the one who actually can give you the score for fasting. You can actually go indoor, drink zip water, and nobody knows. But because that is for Him alone, He has ordained that even after Ramadan, you repay the fast as a woman. But you don't repay your prayers, but you repay the prayer. Now,
actually, what my question is driving at is how can Ramadan help us to see a balance in gender, in gender, in terms of other issues, not just in fasting. Today we have a lot of gender agitations. We have a lot of women aspiring for certain political positions. We have a lot of issues coming up and all that. Does Ramadan help us, give us an, help us to understand this?
I think Ramadan,
just in 60 seconds.
Yes, Ramadan is an extension is a part of Islam itself. So in all honesty, we must first understand what Islam understanding of this issue of gender balance, which is more of gender equality, gender equity, in the sense that there are peculiar things and peculiar roles that only a woman can do. A man will never be able to give birth, or well, at least he's not supposed to give birth and all these things. So there are specific physiological responsibilities that a woman will do that needs corresponding management. So ideally, there are some things that the physicality of man has to be the most suited for those roles. So Islam generally thinks more in terms of how is there a balance in the capacities and resources that each gender has, and match it with the roles for that gender. So within that context, we can roll it forward.
Okay. I would like to thank you. There are, of course, many more questions to raise, but I believe these questions, of course, will be the subject matter of various sermons going forward. We don't have the time. One, of course, is the misuse of Islam by certain persons. Islam worldwide is known as a religion of peace. And yet we have seen persons wielding RPGs and AK-49 and AK-47 proclaiming Allah Akbar and then they are wreaking havoc across different parts of the country. How do we respond to such persons? And how do we also respond to ourselves in dealing with these characters? Because sometimes it is said that persons within are also supporters or aiders and abettors of this misuse of Islam, the religion of peace. As I said, we don't have enough time. That will be issues that we can deal with going forward. Jibril Ibrahim is the Public Affairs Officer of the Abuja Muslim Forum. We'd like to thank you for being our guest on Good Morning Nigeria today.
Thank you very much for having me.
We also would like to thank Mardiya Ojubara. She's a member of the Sisters of Jannah. I want to thank you very much for being our guest.
It's a pleasure.
And to say once again, Baraka the Salah.
Thank you.
So that does it for our conversation segment. Let's go over now to the foreign scene.
Guinea's military leader, Colonel Mamadi Doumbouya, announced a 39-month transition period before the country returns to civilian rule. The announcement was made during a speech broadcast on television, when Colonel Doumbouya added that the measure will be subject to the National Transitional Council acting as parliament. Colonel Mamadi, in his address, said that from all consultations at all levels since the beginning of the transition with all groups of society, from all Guineans, wherever they are, the median proposal that emerged is a transition of 39 months. He said the National Rally and Development Committee and the government will submit to the CNT, which is the National Transition Council, acting as a parliament, the proposal that followed long and patient consultations. The announcement followed the creation of what the military leader described as an inclusive consultation framework in April. The resulting conference culminated in a boycott by several prominent political groups. However, the regional bloc ECOWAS had set last Monday as a deadline for putting forward an acceptable transition timetable or risk economic and financial sanctions.
All right, and that's Good Morning Nigeria for today. And as we're enjoined to say, may Allah, of course, grant us our deeds and make our supplications ibadah. So to all our Muslim brothers and sisters, I wish you Eid Mubarak.
And Baraka the Salah. I'm Kingsley Usadala. Tomorrow is another day, same time, 7 o'clock in the morning. Thank you.